Hey everyone, and welcome back to my Revel channel. I am ready to revel about Real Housewives of Atlanta season 15 episode 12 and 13, and I'm gonna be honest with you really quick. I am not going to harp on episode 12 that long, and I only say that because I felt like that episode really wasn't needed. Like, a lot of that could have been given maybe the episode before, or they just could have like not harped on certain things for so long, and a portions of like episode 13 could have been brought into episode 12. But let's not waste any more time. I am going to still follow the same system that I did the last couple of episodes to catch up. Let's go ahead and get into it. Oh, and before we get into it, be on the lookout because the reunion looks, they dropped. The video is coming really soon. So now let's go ahead and get into it. Episode 12 literally was driven by the Kandi and Drew drama. But when it comes to the Kandi and Drew drama, listen, Latoya has already revealed this. I don't know why Drew is trying to play this thing. It's like she already said it. Just own your stuff. And if that's not what you are, then just don't do it no more. Then we have Drew taking it a step further because Kandi has already left. Kandi had to go home to handle some business. They all are there. They're talking about everything that happened the night before. And we literally see Drew make some statements that had me side-eyeing her. She was like, oh, maybe Kandi said this because she's trying to get me ready for my role. Kandi's producing. Maybe Kandi is doing the dungeon stuff. And I'm like, Drew, own your stuff, ma'am. It doesn't even make sense. Even Sheree was sitting there.
You think she's lying?
We all know Drew's a liar. So are we shocked that she was telling another lie? No.
She don't believe it. Like, nobody believes Drew in this moment. So ma'am, just please let it go. Then they have the bus ride to go do the sound baths. And if you know anything about sound baths, they proved why I don't believe in sound baths when it comes to my faith. Because listen, sound baths are supposed to help you relax. It's supposed to help with anxiety and different things like that. And I do want to state that on the bus ride, Mayetta rap, the rap was not that great, so I was here for Sheree's confessional. But during this sound bath, I just had to say that because I didn't want to forget that did happen. But during the sound bath, we have Drew thinking about her life and everything that's going on between her and her husband within their marriage. You have Kenya thinking about her daughter Brooklyn and possibly wanting to have another kid. Sheree is thinking about her fibroids. We have Marlo, who stated that she doesn't believe in it, so she's on the same route as me. And she took her a nap. But Marlo did say that was the best sleep she has had in months. So it's kind of like, Marlo, girl, if you can't have peace or rest within your home, it's time to move. Like, it's really time to move. Now, this is why I say I don't believe in sound baths, y'all. Literally right afterwards, they're having lunch. And that's when the chaos starts and they're going back and forth. So while they're sitting there having lunch, we literally see the women harp on what happened the night before, you know, Drew versus Kandi. Now, within this scene, we also see Marlo saying her confessional. She feels like a lot of the women are undercover. And she basically says this because there are so many of them. And when production rolled the clip of all the people that have said, acted, or done something that gives the effect of them dipping into a different type of pond, I was like, is she wrong there? Like, it's jokes, but is she really wrong? And we see Marlo say the only person she feels that has not dipped into that pond is Sanya, because Sanya told her that that's not her type of speed. Now, we have Drew and Marlo going back and forth about the footage. And I know Marlo has gotten a lot of flack during this season. And yes, her sending that footage made everything escalate, and that was wrong. That was definitely wrong, sending that footage to Latoya. But we can't sit here and act like it's that much of a difference compared to her and Mayetta, because both footages was used for us to see on screen. But this argument goes a little step further, and then we basically see Drew bop the table.
Understand this, and I'm gonna say this right now. Don't you ever for me. I will try it with me if you want to. It's not a good day, okay? Not bad. Taking the table.
And this is another funny Marlo moment, because ma'am, was that really needed? But Drew really was kind of fed up. Like, we're not gonna act like different people have not come for her all season. The season before that, she's been here 3 years at this point. They definitely pick on her. But ma'am, Marlo was eating her up in that moment. And we see Drew basically ask her, you know, get your cases expunges. do something with your edges. And Marlo's like, I did. You love to talk about my edges, but I did. And I'm not gonna lie, this was another moment where Marlo kind of ate that up, because it's like, ma'am, she is. Now, when it comes to the case thing, I don't know how that's going. I honestly don't know, so I don't have no comment when it comes to that. But then we see Drew ask her, well, then what is your career? And we see Marlo says the same as your husband, tech. Now, I believe this was a funny dig in the sense of, okay, you're upset with me about sending the footage, so I'm in tech just like your husband. Now, was that something for Drew to really take back to Ralph? Not really, and we are not really sure how she really took that back to him and what she really said, because did it warrant Ralph texting Marlo? Not at all. I don't think it was really warranted at all. Now, I can see if like she really said something, he's like, hey, don't talk about me. But at the same time, him texting Marlo was definitely like weird behavior. But after this, it kind of goes into Kenya versus Courtney. Now, we already know that Monyetta talked to Kenya. She let her know everything that happened the night before. And she also brought up the fact that the other women were sitting there talking to Courtney and basically trying to get them on her side and to go against Drew. I think she called it a collusion. I believe that's the correct word. Sanya says it wasn't a collusion. I don't know whether it was a collusion or not, because I legit do not remember, because I'm literally going off the top of my head in this moment. But I'm not gonna lie, Courtney had, I can't say she's acting different, but she definitely, during that episode, acted a little different when it comes to Drew compared to the other episodes where they were hanging out. So there's a little shift. We can't deny that. But during the argument, we have Kenya saying stuff. Courtney is basically saying, ma'am, you weren't there. And I'm not gonna lie, Courtney was kind of eating Kenya up in this moment. Like, yes, Kenya needed somebody new to get into it with, but ma'am, did it really need to be with Courtney? And at the same time, Kenya normally used to come harder than that. She definitely did. Now, where I will say, Courtney bringing up the fall, the stuff about how that's being her karma and all this other stuff, that was kind of like, I still stand by what I said in the last episode. Very unwarranted. Like, what do we used to say? Oh, this happened to you because of da-da-da-da-da. That's distasteful. And that's how she tried to make the little joke. I don't want to say it's a joke, but how she kind of was going at Kenya in that moment. And even Sanya said, I actually was here for Sanya this episode too. Even Sanya was like, nah, that's not cool to bring that up. Like, that's something that really happened to her or whatever. But when they were going toe to toe, Courtney had that. Courtney definitely had that. And we see Sheree get upset because it did not go as planned after the sound baths and different things like that. And I'm like, ma'am, of course it's not. Because sound baths don't work. Like, I don't believe in that stuff. You really think that stuff was gonna work? Later on in the episode, this is like considered the last day for them to be in Portugal. And I believe they went to a winery. They're having wine. It wasn't anything that kind of was like to the left, but other than like, you know, Marlo getting that text from Ralph, where we already discussed that. So at the end, after them drinking and different things like that, they decided to dance and do a TikTok challenge. And that's how they chose to end episode 12. So now, in episode 13, we get the Christmas montages. You got Marlo and her family doing the Christmas photos, which came out really well. You have Candy and her husband discussing the movie, and they do what they always do, something that we love to see. Giving back to their community in the sense of, let's put our friends, family, and other people we know in movies so that they can now have an opportunity. And then we have Sanya and her husband and her son Deuce. They're outside playing soccer before she goes inside to talk to her sister. Now, during the conversation with her sister, she lets her know that, listen, this is how everything went with the trip. Certain parts were relaxing, other parts was drama, but when it comes to us and everything that we kind of seen play out throughout the whole season, she lets her know that she's having a hard time gripping the formation and where their relationship is going. She feels like her sister is not there for her as much as she used to be. And her sister lets her know, I have to set boundaries. I can't be all that for you anymore. I now have my own family, so things are going to be different. That doesn't mean I'm not going to be there for you. I just can't be at your beck and call. We finally learned that this is more than just me being at your beck and call when it comes to work stuff. Sanya is really expecting her to be there for everything else. And she's saying, when it comes to that, I can't do that. And Sanya basically is tearing up, and she lets her know that I'm gonna try to do better. And I like how they kind of sum that up. I think that's gonna end that storyline. I would like to see how have they evolved from that and have they come to common ground and just seeing how that plays out. And then we have Kandi and Cynthia. Now, y'all, I enjoyed seeing Cynthia on my screen. We already know that she was once in LA. She's now back in Atlanta because she divorced her husband. And I don't think we really have to go into detail about that because she's no longer on the show, even though I would like to see her back. But while they're sitting down, her and Kandi lets us know that they are really good friends. They just haven't had time to really hang out because she was in LA. Now she's back. Hey, she got her best friend back. She's happy because she has been arguing with the women nonstop, and I'm not gonna lie, Kandi has. It's been a lot of arguments all season. I think she got it into everybody. Yeah, like she said, she got into it with everybody except for Kenya and Mania. They also get into the topic of what happened in Portugal. And Cynthia lets us know that she cannot confirm nor deny because she was in her room. She went to sleep. The only people who saw it was Kenya, Marlo, and Kandi when it comes to the Drew and Latoya thing. Kandi also lets us know that Bedroom Kandi is now 10 years old. Or was it 11? Yeah, it's 10 years old, and they're doing a peach social. Now, the peach social is kind of reminiscent to the selfie studios that you see everywhere, to where there's multiple rooms, you take selfies, different things like that, but she put a twist on it and put it towards the Bedroom Kandi type of stuff. She also lets, I was about to say Courtney, she also lets Cynthia know that she's invited. She invited Latoya. Drew's gonna be there. Everybody's pretty much gonna be there. So we're going to see how all that plays out. We also have the scene where it's Drew and Ralph. And during this scene, we see her bring up everything that happened in Portugal. She brings up the stuff between her and Kandi. She brings up what Marlo said. And when she was explaining the stuff that Kandi said, the way Ralph was looking at her lets me know that he doesn't even believe what's coming out of her mouth, but he's gonna play along with it. Then also in this episode, we see Marlo talking to her friend, and they're discussing Scott Lee. And she lets us know that Scott Lee is the type of guy that she doesn't see long term. She doesn't see him long term because he likes to party, he likes to do all that. That's not her. She don't want a man that's out there in the streets like that. And I was like, okay, if that's what she doesn't want, hey, girl, let it go. Now, we also see Kenya babysitting, I believe it was her cousin. And we learned that Brooklyn she's so spoiled, y'all, like in a good way. In the sense of she, in the beginning, did not like all the attention the cousin was getting. But she has now come around to the point where she now wants siblings. And she lets us know in the confessional, I believe she said she wants 2 brothers, a sister, and all this. And it kind of opens the idea to Kenya trying again to have another baby in some shape or form so that Brooklyn can now have a sibling. And just to see how Brooklyn interacted with the little cousin was really, really cute, y'all. I was like, oh, it makes me want to go ahead and go, because I am getting my niece this September, at the beginning of September. But I was like, man, it makes me want to get her a little earlier. I enjoyed seeing that scene between her and her daughter. You can definitely tell that they have an amazing bond. Also, I almost forgot, I want to bring up Drew and the executive assistants. Y'all, how many assistants does Drew have? How many assistants do she have? Now she have 2 new assistants, and they're helping her clean out her closet. They're gonna redo everything. And listen, I'm all here for organizing closets. I was doing that and wanted to actually make that like a business venture and style people and do different things like that. I don't know if I'm still gonna follow that. I'm gonna see how that pans out. But yeah, that made me think. I was like, how many assistants does she have? For so many, man. But we also know that Ralph didn't want them touching his side of the closet. I get it, but at the same time, if my closet is about to get fixed up, sir, we gotta fix yours up in some shape or form too. Like, you gotta be in here. You gotta help us. You gotta do something. I am all here for clean and organization. Also, I can't leave out key details. Sheree and Kandi had a sit down. I almost forgot about that. And during this sit down, she lets her know everything that Drew said. So this is why Kandi is gonna be on guard before Drew gets there, because everything that Sheree brought back to her. And honestly, Sheree didn't lie. Now, everybody makes it to the peach social. They're showing up in their shades of peach. I think everybody except for Mayetta, Sheree, I think they were the only 2 who didn't really have a shade of peach, if I'm not mistaken. But they're sitting there, they're recapping the Portugal trip. They're talking about everything that was said. We also see Sheree bring up the fact that about, I think it was like 13 years ago, they had a sit down, or she took them to one of those type of stores. And this is where the whole idea for bedroom candy comes from. So it's like a full circle moment for her, because now she's watching everything come into fruition. She also says, Candy also says, that at one point the topics of bedroom items was very taboo for them. When Candy finally walks over to the group, her and Marlo are having a cute little moment, and they basically let us know that, hey, we ain't seeing eye to eye, but we could be cordial. And Marlo actually gives her props. She basically is like, listen, I say a lot of stuff, but Candy is on top of her business. She does that, she earned it, she worked really hard. So after they discuss what the actual toy items do and different things like that, they're all sitting down, they're having a conversation. Then Cynthia done got there, and then we see Drew walk up, and Cynthia wastes no time, and she lets her know, girl, we was just talking about you. And I was like, come on, Cynthia. Get the ball rolling so they don't take forever all episode to try to figure this out. And I just did a confessional review. If you have not watched it, go ahead, check that out. I will have that in the description and linked at the end of this video. But within that video, I was talking about Kenya's outfit, y'all. And lo and behold, now we have Drew in the same outfit. Who wore it better for y'all? Was it Kenya or was it Drew? Let me know down in the comments. We see Latoya make it. Latoya gets there, she's happy, she walks over to Candy and she lets her know that, hey, I'm upset with you because I had a conversation about me and I wasn't there to defend myself. So her, Drew, and Latoya go off to the side and they start to discuss what happened 3 years ago. It was about 2 years ago. It was like 2 years ago. Before we get into that discussion, Kenya and Cynthia, because we know that they are not on the same, well, they were not on the same page based off of that Real Housewives girl trip that they did. And I did not watch that episode. So I'm gonna go back and figure out what happened. I did watch the one that Giselle and them was on. So I'm gonna have to go ahead and check that one out. I didn't have Peacock at that time. So I'm gonna go watch that to figure out what really happened. But it's good to see that they are now back on good terms. Marlo and Ralph having their conversation. Now you can definitely tell he didn't really want to talk to her in that moment. But she was like, come on, there's always three sides to every story. It's his side, her side, and then the truth or whatever. Or her side, and the truth. And they're talking about it. He's like, listen, I'm not even there to defend myself. Why am I being brought up? She brings up how she said it. She said, she asked, what is your career? I said, I do the same as your husband. I'm in tech. That's literally what it was. So it wasn't anything to really bring back to Ralph in that moment. Now we see Marlo say, I know it can be a lot. Because, you know, you got so many different personalities that you have to wake up to the next morning. And Ralph laughed. I thought it was funny. But, sir, for you to laugh, that's your wife. You're supposed to defend her in that moment. And I will say, even though she did say that I'm in the same thing as your husband, tech, I felt like that's like a double entendre. Because we all know what the cast like to say that Marlo does. Y'all see where I'm going with that? Ooh, Marlo was being a little messy. She was. It was funny, but it's a little messy. Now back to the conversation. We see Drew basically say she's ready to set the record straight. And finally, we have the conversation that we were waiting or were not even waiting on. Because let's be real, I'm pretty sure 99.99% of us still has the same thought that we had before when it comes to this situation. So we have Drew, Latoya, and Candy in the room. Now they're talking and Latoya says that, what is going on? Why was I brought up? And where is Marlo? So Candy goes to get Don Juan and Don Juan goes to get Marlo. Candy makes it back to the room. They're having the discussion and Latoya lets us know that her and Drew relationship is very bipolar. Candy says it's bi. Either way, any forms of those bis lets us know that them two just have issues when it comes to each other, and they've always had issues since the very first season they came on together. And it's like they're hot and cold. That's basically the type of relationship or friendship that they have. Then we see Marlo come in and she's playing a lot and they all are sitting there like, girl, we trying to get to the bottom of this type of thing. And Latoya asks Marlo, why did you send me the footage? Why was it recorded? And Marlo basically says, I sent it to show you how fake Drew is and what she really thinks about you. And I was like, girl, that's not what it was. Because if I can recall, I don't remember her really saying anything bad about Latoya other than her saying that that's not what they did. And then we see Drew basically say, yeah, she sent you an edited video.
That is funny. Where the hell that at?
And I was like, ma'am, edit it where? Marlo did not have the time to do all that, record all that, send it to her that fast. Like, she literally recorded, sent it to her. Nothing was edited. Whatever was said was said. So Marlo had enough of it. She had enough of it, kind of probably how some of us was watching the scene. Marlo leaves. And right after she leaves, they continue to have a discussion. And Candy basically says, bottom line, y'all are not gonna make me out to be a liar, because I don't lie. They all agree that Candy is a very genuine person. So we see Latoya say, well, if you know she's a genuine person, why do you think she's lying about this? And I was like, So this is Latoya's way of saying, I'm not saying we did it, but I'm saying we did it. I can't confirm, I can't deny. And that leaves me feeling the same way I felt before. Because if you didn't do something, the person would just flat out say, no, I didn't do it. You know what I'm saying? So it lets me know something had to happen or whatever. But right after that, Candy said, you know, we just gonna agree to disagree. And then we get Drew in a confession. And production is asking, why do you think they said this about you? Why do you think they're saying you're kissing her? Why is this coming up? And she says, oh, Candy told Latoya to say it or something like that. Bottom line, they run the clips back. And yes, Latoya did say at first nothing happened, but then she confirmed it at the reunion. Does this really clear the issue? Not really, because the way she was smiling and stuff when she said no, it didn't happen, kind of lets me know that maybe she was just trying to cover for some other reason. That's my review for episode 12 and 3. Let me know what you thought of this episode. And am I the only one who feels like this season is going by really fast? And I don't know if we got as much as we thought we would get, but it's definitely going by fast, especially because the reunion looks dropped. And I was like, man, don't that normally drop like a couple of episodes right before the ending? Like it happens so fast, I don't know. So also be on the lookout because I am going to review the reunion looks. I'm just tweaking up that video and that will be out really, really soon. I will see y'all next time.